Across Pablo Picasso's long career, there are various different styles. This picture behind me dates from 1905 and it belongs to his so-called Rose period. At this stage, Picasso was just around 23 or 24 years old and he established himself in Paris. Now, Rose period is a term that's used because it distinguishes these paintings from the blue period that preceded it. The blue period has very obviously a blue tonality, whereas the paintings of the Rose period have a more pastel shade. They're not necessarily all rose or pink, but they have a warmer underglow. No, there's no one particular single reason. He was also a wonderful magpie. He looked at all sorts of influences around him. Blue period pictures, he'd explored as far as he wanted to go with that style, and his imagination was so fertile that he then looked at other artists around him, but also formulated very much his own style. The most celebrated picture of this period is a painting called The Family of the Saltimbanque, which is in the National Gallery in Washington, D.C., which is an epic picture of larger scale than this, of a whole family of circus characters, but depicted in this strange sort of netherworld. It's indistinct, the landscape isn't clear. The subject in this picture was called Linda la Bouquetière. She was a flower seller, probably 14 or 15 years old. She sold flowers in a square very close to where Picasso's studio was. She is visible in a couple of other pictures from around the same time. But Picasso has set her up in an almost life-size picture here that is in some ways an allegory of spring. She's holding flowers and which suggests fertility and suggests classical paintings. But of course it's also a very modern picture. The face of Linda is perhaps looks older than her years. There seems to be a lot of experience in the face. There's a sense of drama, a sense of tragedy perhaps. This is something that's shared by a lot of the sitters, the subjects in the Rose period pictures. They were of course people on the margins of Parisian society, of French society. Picasso was also concerned at adding a poetic element to his paintings of the time. That nuance, that sort of subtlety, is also evident in the way he executes these works, which makes them, again, distinguishes them from the blue period painting. The paintings of the Rose period have thinner surfaces, more experimental painted surfaces where he's allowed different colours to bleed through, and some of the paint is very liquid and he's allowed it to drip down the surface. And in places, particularly on her face, he's scraped back the surface and painted it again in order to give it a slightly antique feel. It was bought almost directly from Picasso, just weeks after it was painted, by famous American collectors called the brother and sister called Leo and Gertrude Stein, who'd established themselves in Paris at that time and started to buy avant-garde, daring paintings. This was only the second Picasso they owned. And it stayed in the Stein family's collection for the next decades, and in fact was acquired by Peggy and David Rockefeller from Gertrude Stein's estate in the late 1960s. So it's only been in two collections all its lifetime.